All right, welcome to Between the Cushions episode 2. This is our secondary podcast where we discuss some game matchups, some game reactions to the previous week, and some just breaking news that we weren't able to cover in the regular podcast. As always, this is Luke Sauder, and we're joined by Ryan Greiner, this time via phone, specifically Google Duo, since he is currently too busy for his podcast. Say hi, Ryan.
Hey guys, what's up?
All right. Coming off of week 4 of the NFL season, got a couple of weird things going on. Obviously, the Titans are kind of struggling with their whole COVID situation. Them and the Steelers had to deal with their bye early and having to deal with a week 4 bye. But, they're moving past it. So a couple games that happened. We're going to start off with Monday night, which got pushed back due to Cam Newton getting COVID. We are looking at the 2-2 New England Patriots and the 4-0 Kansas City Chiefs. So the Chiefs struggled in the first bit against the Patriots defense. Looking at Patrick Mahomes, they put up 6 points up until the end of the third quarter, and then they finally started getting going, mostly due to a pick 6 by Tyrann Mathieu that really gave them the lead. But yeah, final score, 26 Chiefs, 10 Patriots. Ryan, what do you got on this game?
Well, first off, New England should have had another 3 points on there. Because Hoyer got sacked at the end of the second quarter. Like at, the 20-yard line. He got sacked and the clock ran out. So
Well, he tried to call a timeout.
They didn't have any timeouts left. So it was either poor management by him or I don't know if it was the coach, but it seems like something he should have known.
I agree. Also on Hoyer, he got strip sacked in the third quarter when they were also in the red zone. So that's 2 red zone trips that they came up empty on.
Yeah, and because of that, or it might be those two together, it might just be that, but got benched for Stidham. Or Studham, however you want to say.
It's Stidham.
Either way, I mean, people thought he was going to be a stud. Actually, it was just the New England fans that thought he was going to be a stud. But he didn't do that well, though. One of his picks was basically a pass off from Edelman to the defender, so that's on Edelman. But
It went right through Edelman's hands.
yeah. So he didn't do one pick. You can take one pick away from that. However, he didn't do the best. I think his QBR was somewhere around 40. So it was four receptions, 12 attempts, something like that. And it was not a good day for Stidham. However, he came in the middle of the game, which in a game where they were down against probably the best team in the NFL. So I'm willing to give him a little bit of a pass this time.
Not bad. Not a terrible performance given his situation. Here's a question: do you think that they would have won if they would have had Cam Newton?
The defense played the same probably because the script would have been different. Most likely going into halftime. Maybe even the Patriots would be ahead. Therefore, they're going to run more than pass.
I agree. I do think that Cam Newton would have won that game because they left 2 red zone trips with no points due to turnovers or what happened at the end of the second quarter. And then Newton, I don't think Newton would have thrown that ball to Edelman on that flat route, so I think that would have negated the pick 6, meaning the Patriots would have probably had a good shot at winning that game. I did not know that Newton was really holding them up as much as I thought he was. He really seems to be carrying them when he's out there.
Well, do you think it's kind of like Jackson on the Ravens? I mean, Newton's a running quarterback. He keeps it a fair amount, so
that's
when
true.
you have that, when you have that to deal with on a defense, I mean, you have to always fly another person over the top, one less person to cover the receivers. So
yeah, I don't think the Chiefs really were too worried about Brian Hoyer or Jarrett Stidham running on them.
Yeah, they weren't worried about Hoyer the Destroyer.
Yeah, Hoyer, speaking as a Bears fan who saw Hoyer play in 2016 before he broke his arm, Hoyer played much worse than even I was expecting him to play, which, he's not a great quarterback, but he made some, rookie mistakes as a seasoned, he is a journeyman quarterback. He's been around for a while.
Yeah. Do you think it was just the pressure of playing the Chiefs, or?
It could be. He also has never started a game for the Patriots before, even though this is his second stint with the Patriots.
Yeah, I think I heard that. That's kind of strange.
Brian Hoyer is actually a Super Bowl champion. Did you know that?
Was he on the roster when they won?
He was on the roster.
Yeah, so you got a Super Bowl champion at quarterback. What could go wrong?
Tyrod Taylor was the backup quarterback to Joe Flacco the year that the Ravens won the Super Bowl.
Oh, same over in the at Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, you got a championship quarterback.
Yep.
What could go wrong?
They should be playing better. Okay, Patrick Mahomes really struggled against the Patriots defense, didn't he? You only put up 6 points.
I didn't see too much about what Mahomes did against the defense. I watched a lot of the first half, and then the second half it was on and off.
Watching the Packers and the Falcons at the same time?
Yeah, I thought that game might be a little bit more interesting, but
it wasn't.
Anywho, yeah, not really.
But okay, no, you go on.
Yeah, so Patrick Mahomes, he didn't have his flashy 4 TDs, 500 yards. He didn't have one of those games. He had a decent game as QB. Then he threw 2 TDs and I don't know how many yards, but several hundred, 25, 250, 300 yards. Do you know?
It's somewhere around there. I'll tell you, since you didn't watch much of the second half, you probably didn't see. He does have 2 touchdowns listed, but it was 2 pretty much push passes, so about the same as a handoff. So it wasn't really 2 touchdowns. It was really 2 handoffs that just happened to go forward, the little push passes. But it was 236 yards, 65% completion percentage, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he still had over a 100 QBR, though.
113.
So it was a decent night for Patrick Mahomes. It wasn't like a good night for him. It wasn't like Aaron Rodgers in the other game. Right.
I would like to say, and it's very easy to pick up flack if you try to critique Patrick Mahomes, and I did touch on this in the main podcast, and I just want people to know, I am not hating on Patrick Mahomes. I am just saying he basically threw 3 picks. One of them was this fluky fumble-looking thing, which got blown dead, which I think was the bailout of a lifetime. One was right through not Gilmore. One went right through McCourty's hands. It was a bad read. And then the other one, he threw into triple coverage, and it was another dropped interception. So, even though Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback, he also can have a bad game. That's all I'm trying to say with that.
Yeah, but he's the best quarterback in the league, so should he ever have a bad game?
Is he better than Russell Wilson?
You got me there. Second best quarterback in the league.
Russell Wilson does not have Andy Reid. He does not have Tyreek Hill, the most explosive wide receiver in the league. He does not have Travis Kelce, the best tight end in the league, although I'm a Kittle fan myself.
Okay. Little GK fan. I get
it. No, Patrick Mahomes is great. He's a great quarterback. He is definitely top 2. But we've never really seen him play without these offensive weapons. So whereas, Wilson, Brady, Rodgers, these are guys that they've played with bad weapons. They've played on bad teams, and they've persevered.
Yeah. Doesn't Mahomes like to spread the ball around a lot? So.
Yeah, they've got, but I mean, Hardman's pretty good too. Hardman, I mean, even Watkins has his days. So, but I mean, you can't blame a guy for being on a good team. That's not his fault.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Okay, moving on. We've got the Bucs and the Chargers who played. They played their Sunday noon game. The Bucs advanced to 3-1. Brady threw 5 touchdowns after throwing a pick 6 early on in a comeback win. Final score 38-31 Bucs.
So Brady actually threw 6 touchdowns, is what you're telling me.
Aha! You got me there.
Ah.
Just one was for the other team.
Old Tampa Tommy coming in clutch.
So in your opinion, is Brady and the Bucs, are they clicking, or is it just, they played kind of a banged up Chargers team against a rookie quarterback that they struggled against, or what's going on there?
Well, the Bucs are starting to get it together. I mean, Brady came in the off season to a new system, new players. We all thought the first couple weeks would be them kind of figuring out the offense. Now, Brady, I think, has thrown a fair amount of picks for being who he is. He's thrown 4 picks in the first 4 games, so maybe it's Arians' offense, and who knows, maybe it's Brady just getting old, but
Could be.
I think he's done really well, and even without their debatably best receiver, Chris Godwin. So I like what I'm seeing. He's getting the ball around. He's throwing to all the tight ends. I think 3 tight ends had catches the other night, the other afternoon, along with 2 of them for touchdowns. So
he's utilizing his new favorite white receiver, Scotty Miller.
Dude, old Scooter. They call him the Scooter, which I thought was hilarious.
Not a bad waiver wire pickup this week, I'd say, in fantasy. Because I don't think Godwin will be back this Thursday.
Wasn't there an update saying Godwin was held out today?
Yeah. Also, Mike Evans did not practice yesterday.
Oh, that's fine. Evans is always nursing an injury or something.
I mean, that's the way it goes. But I don't think that there's any way that Evans doesn't play on Thursday night, considering that he came back against the Chargers in like the third quarter. So I think it'll be fine.
Yeah. Are you looking at any of the tight ends maybe to pick up? Brait or O.J. Howard?
Well, O.J. Howard's out on injury.
Oh, I must have missed that.
Yeah, I would say Cameron Brait. I would say Brait's the only tight end worth picking up. I still wouldn't trust Gronk.
Yeah, after coming out and saying that he's pretty much the blocking tight end.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have to see with it. How
did Rojo do?
Rojo, 18 fantasy points. That's how he did.
Ronald Jones, what a star.
Ronald Jones, he's getting obviously a lot of carries in Fournette's absence, which I think Fournette is a game time decision for Thursday night. I personally don't see him playing. Ronald Jones, I will say he had 6 receptions against the Chargers, but he dropped like another 5. He dropped a lot of targets. So if you're in a PPR league, it's a little bit questionable to look at. But he did, against the Chargers, 20 attempts, 111 yards, 5.5 yards per carry.
That'll do. And what about so Fournette being there though for the receptions? I mean, he's not the passing back in any means, is he?
No, it's really Shady McCoy that does that, and I think LaShawn McCoy was out on injury.
He's not playing.
Yeah, so Rojo is the full-time back right now.
Yeah.
So if you are a Rojo owner, I think you're in a good shape for the next week or so. We'll see. I think you should definitely be starting him as a flex. Actually, no, it's a Thursday night game. You should be starting him as a running back. That way, your flex isn't taken up if someone gets hurt in the next couple of days.
That's a good point. Who has Rojo in our league?
I mean, yours truly has Rojo in the league.
Okay.
I'm just speaking, in case any of our 10 subscribers have Ronald Jones in any other leagues.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
Shout out to the 10 subscribers.
So, we've talked about Tampa. You want to move over to the Chargers?
All right. How'd the Chargers do?
Dude, let me tell you about Air Bear. My goodness. Going up a couple scores on Tom Brady and the Bucs was more than you could hope for from a rookie QB. He was, I don't want to say textbook, but he was really good. I mean, I think he completed, he only threw 25 passes.
Right.
But of those passes, he completed 20 of them. So that's pretty darn good.
All right. I agree. I mentioned the last time we did a Between the Cushions episode that Justin Herbert he's my pick for best rookie quarterback this year.
He looks like the real deal. What do you think about him? Do you think he's still going to start when Taylor's back, or?
No. So Anthony Lynn came out a week ago or so, and he said that Tyrod Taylor will play football. He said he will play football when he's healthy again. He did not say he will be the starting quarterback, though. I mean, look at Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill plays football every week for the Saints, but he's not the starting quarterback.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So we'll see what happens with Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
Going forward into other news, you got anything else to add on this game?
Nothing much other than the Chargers didn't really seem to have a running game, and Eckler got hurt in this game, right?
Yes, and I would target Josh Kelly on your waiver wire if he's still there, which odds are he is not.
Josh Kelly, you're talking about the running back who fumbled the ball? That Josh Kelly?
I mean, he's going to be RB number 1 now, him and Justin Jackson.
Yeah, it's an interesting scenario. I don't know if I want to pick up either of them because maybe they'll split it. Maybe they'll go with a hot hand scenario while Eckler's out.
Eckler might be out for an extended period of time, so he's definitely worth keeping an eye on. Okay, let's transition. Okay, so big news happened today. Dwayne Haskins, you may know him as the Washington football team's quarterback. Also, he was a first-round pick for them last year. He was benched today. It was announced. Kyle Allen to start for the football team, and shockingly enough, Alex Smith is now number 2 on the depth chart to back up Kyle Allen. They pushed Dwayne Haskins all the way back to number 3 on the depth chart after having a bad game against the Baltimore Ravens, where he threw for 314 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks, 71% completion percentage. Ryan, is this a good move?
I don't think so. You've already seen what Allen has done in the league, and I think you still need to give Haskins some more opportunity. I mean, he's been going through a couple, not regime changes, but a couple different head coaches, and I think he started 13 games. I don't think he was healthy all of last year. Might have been.
Right. I don't have his stats up right here, but I'll say Kyle Allen. I mean, I don't know. I think Haskins has a much higher ceiling than Kyle Allen.
Yeah. I would keep him in, just because he hasn't done anything that I would consider like, we need to bench him, so let's get someone else in, while you're still trying to find, your franchise quarterback. I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that's Kyle Allen. I think it's either you throw Alex Smith in there and maybe get him some good games, maybe get a trade for him in the offseason, and you still try and see what you have with Dwayne Haskins.
Right. I would be excited to see Alex Smith take the field this year. I would be very excited to see that after that injury. Just see him play football again would be a good sight to see. But, speaking as a Bears fan who, we've been watching Trubisky for 4 years and he just recently got benched, I still think, as frustrating as it is to watch a quarterback that you drafted in the first round struggle, I think it's way too soon to bench him. And then not only do you bench him, but you add insult to injury by sending him all the way to number 3 on the depth chart and putting Alex Smith at number 2. I mean, I think this is a ridiculous move. And it's not like the Washington football team has some star-studded roster other than quarterback. They are struggling, and also, I mean, can you really fairly judge a young quarterback's performance against the Ravens? Arguably the best team. Well, no, probably the second best team in the AFC.
Yeah, it was a tough matchup this past week, but they're 1-3, so he's won a game for them. I don't remember what the outlook of those games, but if he's not throwing too many interceptions and he's still getting like 250 yards, I would say keep him in there.
Right.
He has the potential to go off because his supporting cast really isn't what you would want.
Yeah, speaking of that supporting cast, I've got the depth chart open right here. All 3 of their starting wide receivers are listed as questionable for this week.
Including Scary Terry?
Including Scary Terry.
Oh, not Scary Terry, dude. He's my main man.
Yep. Very, very weird situation. I completely disagree with benching him. On the season, he's got 4 touchdowns, 3 picks, 939 yards, and an 80% quarterback rating.
On the year?
80,
is that 80?
80.3 is his rating. So, excuse me. 61% is his completion percentage. Yeah, 80 that'd be nice if that were his completion percentage.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
Tough move. So then we've got, transitioning even further, we've got Stephon Gilmore tested positive for COVID today, I believe it was. Not only is this, gonna cause some issues with the Patriots organization, there are photos of after the game where he shook hands with Patrick Mahomes and he was in very close proximity with Mahomes. So I'm sure that's got Chiefs fans and even the NFL organization freaking out a little bit.
Yeah, but who's that behind Mahomes that we all want to see play in the NFL?
What was that?
Who's behind Pat? If Mahomes were to go out, who's behind Patrick Mahomes? Who we all want to see play in the NFL?
Oh, Jordan Ta'amu.
Ta'amu! Let's go.
It is Jordan Ta'amu, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
I don't know if they have another backup QB or not, but yeah, it should be Ta'amu.
Dude, I would love to see Ta'amu play.
Yeah, me too.
I think that'll pretty much do it for this segment. When we come back, we'll be joined by my brother Caleb Sauder, our resident Bears fan. Talk about the Bucs-Bears matchup on Thursday Night Football. Thanks for the insights, Ryan.
Okay, no problem.
All
See
right.
you later.
And we're back to Between the Cushions. Ryan had to go, so now we are joined by my brother, Caleb Sauder. He is also the editor of the main Couch Football podcast. Say hi, Caleb.
What up?
So we're jumping into our game preview for Week 5. We've got the Bears and the Bucs. Both teams are 3-1. This is a home game for the Bears. Obviously coming off of a loss to the Colts, where Nick Foles didn't perform quite as Bears fans were hoping. What do you got for this game?
What are you talking about? Nick Foles lived up to Trubisky's name. We can't have a good quarterback.
Exactly. Foles ended 249 yards, 61% completion percentage, 1 touchdown, 1 pick.
Yeah, he struggled. Now, to be fair, the Colts defense is maybe the best defense in the NFL right now. I mean, Pittsburgh's up there too, but the Colts they just could not run on them at all. I think they had like 29 yards total or something running, which is just awful.
Colts are very good. I'll give you that.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, I think what I saw with Nick Foles is that he was playing very conservatively, very drop-off passes, very, crossing routes. He wasn't really throwing it down the field a whole lot. And his receiver, the balls just continued to be behind the receivers. I don't know. I think in contrast, I watched the highlights of the Tampa Bay LA game today, and Tom Brady's on fire right now. I know he threw a pick six again, but other than that, he's just on fire. So I don't have much hope for the Bears this week, I'll be honest.
Right. Me and Ryan actually just touched on that. We just talked about the LA Bucs game. Right. Brady's coming off of a 5-touchdown comeback win. He's obviously fired up. Bucs defense, Bears defense, both fairly solid units. Bears defense is really not performing quite as well as I thought they would. Their secondary seems to be giving up a lot of crossing routes. So I don't know what's going on there. I also am not very confident. I'm going to take the Bucs on this one. Talking about the Bucs, though, they are fairly banged up. We've got Leonard Fournette, most likely. He is a game-time decision, most likely going to be out. Shady McCoy, I believe, is also out. Mike Evans is questionable. Chris Godwin is most likely out. They are banged up, so maybe the Bears can capitalize on that. What are your thoughts on that?
At the end of the day, I still think that Tom Brady is one of those quarterbacks, even at his age, that can just elevate everybody around him, regardless of who is actually around him. So, I did read that Godwin's out, Fournette's out, Evans is questionable, but at the end of the day, I still think that Tom Brady's just going to pick them apart all game long. With those crossing routes, actually, it was interesting. Week 1, when you saw T.J. Hawkinson just take off and have a great game against the Bears, something I've noticed as a big Achilles heel for the Bears defense this year is actually Danny Trevathan, which is pretty unfortunate because we just signed him to an extension.
Right.
But if you watch him play against tight ends, let me just tell you, if you're playing fantasy football, start your tight ends against the Bears because when Trevathan's on a tight end, he cannot keep up.
Right. Speaking of Bucs tight ends, I agree with you on Danny Trevathan, which honestly I think it's to be expected. He's 30 now. That is his current age. Definitely gonna lose some speed. Really, I was shocked that they extended him. I thought they might try to keep Nick Kwiatkowski, but it didn't happen. So, but touching on tight ends, I believe O.J. Howard is going to be out this week. So, if you're playing fantasy football, between Cameron Brate, Rob Gronkowski, do you actually want to risk starting one of those two guys?
So, yeah, I actually want to start Cameron Brate this week. I like Gronkowski. I just don't like him as a pass catcher. He's a good blocker. He just doesn't have the speed anymore and the end zone presence that Cameron Brate has. So actually, I think start Cameron Brate this week if you have him. Obviously, if you have Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews or somebody, don't start him in that case. But I do think Cameron Brate will get at least one touchdown this week.
Right. Speaking of, you got Mark Andrews. That's a good one. Kelsey's a good one. I got Zach Ertz in the 4th round of our draft. Do you think Ertz is if you were gonna do fantasy stock on him, would you say he's high, low right now? Because I'm a little concerned.
I would say buy low on Zach Ertz right now, but also the entire Eagles team is kind of a dumpster fire right now. Miles Sanders is okay. Right now, he's been all right. He's getting the touches anyway. But, Zach Ertz, he just has not, he's just valuable in the middle of the field like that. And they just, honestly, their offensive line has not been good. They've been giving up a lot of sacks, and they, frankly, don't have the time to get down the field.
Right.
So, and Deshaun Jackson's been in and out of injury, too, which he's the one who normally stretches the field for that team. So, it's hard. Teams are double teaming Zach Ertz. The safety's coming up over him with linebackers on him. It's tough. So I think it'll get better as the season goes on, but at the same time, it's pretty bad. The nice thing about having anybody in the NFC East actually is that the division's so bad that it's always going to be competitive. So they're always going to be throwing. There's no situations where they're actually just going to just coast, right? Because every team's going to be fighting for a playoff spot. So
exactly. We were actually just talking about the breaking news of Dwayne Haskins getting benched. Did you hear about that today?
I did hear about that. Yeah, Kyle Allen starting. Is that right?
Right, and Alex Smith is backing him up.
Yep. Which, man, if Alex Smith can play, get him on the Bears, because I am a big Alex Smith fan. He would be the perfect quarterback for their system because, frankly, they just need somebody who can throw accurate passes.
I mean, he thrived in that system because that's Nagy's system. He thrived in it back in Kansas City. They went to the playoffs a couple times. So that's an interesting one. I mean, looking at it as Bears fans, I know me and Ryan already touched on this. Looking at it as Bears fans who, we've been watching Trubisky for 4 years and he just recently got benched, isn't it a little crazy to bench a first-round quarterback, like, not even a year later, pretty much?
With Haskins, yeah.
Yeah, they're 4 games in.
Mean, yeah, he just hasn't performed as they would want him to, and he hasn't developed as they'd want him to as well. I think it's tough because I think, especially with Washington, because Washington actually has a pretty good defense this year, it's one of those things where it's not a development year for your quarterback. They actually think they can make some noise in their division, Again, NFC East, right? So they actually think they can make some noise, and if they can potentially win the division, they're not going to have a quarterback who's in a development stage. So,
right. All right. Going back to the Buccaneers, a little bit of fantasy talk. If you are a Ronald Jones owner, should you start him this week?
I would start him. Yeah.
I say this as a Ronald Jones owner.
Yep, I'd start Ronald Jones. If you look last week, he performed really well, and he had. I know LA is kind of banged up on the defensive line there, but he performed really well, and he gets the carries. He's going to get the touches, and when it comes to fantasy, especially running backs, I'm all about the carries. So more carries, the better. So
okay, what about Scotty Miller?
So Scotty Miller, since Chris Godwin is out, I would start Scotty Miller because he's probably going to be playing a lot of those slot routes that Chris Godwin would normally play. So I would start him as well, unless you have 3 stud wide receivers, which if you're like my team, you don't.
If you want T.Y. Hilton, I'm more than happy to trade.
Yeah, I have him in my other league, and I am doing everything I can to move him.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do about him. Okay, so finally, let's break it down. We'll do, I'll name an area of play, and you tell me Bears or Buccaneers who has the advantage there. Very similar to what you do on your blog. All right?
Sure.
So here we go. All right? Quarterback. Nick Foles versus Tom Brady.
Well, if the Super Bowl is any indication.
All right.
No.
Tom Brady.
No, Tom Brady.
Okay. Running game. You got David Montgomery, no Tariq Cohen, and then you've got Ronald Jones with no Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, on this one, I'll actually take the Bucs again, and it's actually because of the offensive line.
Makes
the Bears'
sense.
offensive line really hasn't been making very many holes for David Montgomery to run through, so I don't see that changing against that Bucs defensive line, which is fierce. So,
yep, that makes sense. I completely agree there. Okay, wide receivers and tight ends.
So, I mean, if Evans plays, I still think the Bears have a better wide receiving core.
Allen
now.
Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Anthony Miller, Ted Ginn Jr.
Yep, I like that better, but at the same time, Mike Evans is good, but I don't know. I'll take the Bears there.
All right. Defense.
This is a tough one.
I agree.
I still think the Bears' defense should be better than the Bucs by personnel. They have a glaring weakness. I'll say the Bears, but I'm
not too confident.
Not too confident on that. I believe they're playing in Chicago. Is that right?
They are, but that doesn't make that huge a difference anymore.
Yeah, well, at least they're used to the turf anyway, so I'll say the Bears defense.
Okay, final category, and this one is for the win. Coaching, Bruce Arians, Matt Nagy.
Man, this is tough because I actually think that Nagy's a good coach. I just think that he's kind of been put in a bad situation.
I don't always agree with his play calling. I'll say that.
Yeah, I was going to say he has made some questionable calls for sure. But I guess I'll go Bruce Arians here.
Okay. So that comes out to 3-2 in favor of the Bucs.
Yep.
I think the Bucs will win this game, which pains me to say as a Bears fan, but that's just how it's probably going to go. So, all right, thanks for joining us, Caleb. And
Yep, you bet.
thanks for listening to all 10 subscribers that are listening to this. All right, see ya.